Hello, hello, hello. Oops. Go bang. Hello. Welcome. Just your average Doug here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. How you doing? This is such a trip. If I go missing, this is why. No. So, I did a little deep dive. Found something interesting and watched about 50 straight hours of it. What started out as pretty much a show I really like is China's mega projects. And there's a whole bunch of videos about all these gigantic, huge projects that China's doing. Many of them just put us to shame. All of them, really. China's bridge network, oh my god. They've got these beautiful bridges. And it's just tons and tons of world records. The tallest, the longest, this, that. Tunnels. Longest tunnel, deepest tunnels for traffic, and solar farms, and wind farms, and aqueducts. Gorges, or dams. A lot of people are probably familiar with that Three Gorges Dam or whatever. They've already beat that with a bigger one. The football stadium, the opera house, the high-speed train, bullet train, the regular rail network upgrade. Like, we're not doing crap over here. I'm just like, blah, we suck. So I'm watching the border, Texas border, and the big story is how the biggest number of people coming over right now are Chinese. I'm like, what? Huh? What? Wait, what? So I look, and sure enough, I watch a few videos, and these are middle-class Chinese people pulling suitcases on wheels, like they just got off an airplane, going through the fence in Mexico. Like, what the hell is this? First of all, my initial thought is why? Why are these people coming here? China's not that bad. There must be work, low crime, and all this and that. I'm like, China really doesn't seem that bad, you know? Why are so many of them coming here? And I wasn't even thinking spy, but somebody had mentioned that on another video. And it makes sense with the old weather balloon that they found, I think, last year or whatever, that China sent the high-tech spy satellite weather balloon over here. And China's a busybody of trying to mess things up in other places. They're big into it. So I'm like, why the heck is so many people flooding from there coming here illegally? These middle-class people. And I start to see more and more of the human rights violations and BS that's going on over there. And just blown away by a lot of it. I came across this, the Chinese mobile execution van, the death van. So China executes a lot of people. Some people, the statistics say, are as high as 12,000 a year, which when I did the math is like 32 people every single day. China's official number is about 1,000 a year, but everybody's like it's way more than that. And it's always firing squad. For the longest time, that was the only way. And they don't do it normal. I mean, it's really weird. They throw you in a ditch and just put one in your head, and they've done that forever. But now to say that they're being more, humane, and it's neater, it's easier on the family and stuff to do lethal injection, and so that they don't have to make a big to-do about the whole setting it up and all that. They just have a little van that they come and get you, and they do it right in this van. So in some cases, you are not going to be incarcerated until they decide if you're going to be put to death or not. It's really weird. China has over 200 capital offenses. Everything from like making a fake, like a money-making thing, such as like trying to do a fake GoFundMe, anything anti-government, forget it. It's all capital punishment worthy. They even have crematory vans, but they will actually come and get you, put you in this van, and put you to death in the back of this damn van.
Feel like company.
I couldn't believe it. I was sitting here watching it, like,
and guess what?
Unbelievable.
He also went into the van, but years later in 2014. I'm gonna look at what have been called China's vans of death.
Let's watch a real one, actually, instead of the cartoon.
And I now know how dark this really gets. And I also now know that I have seen them in real life before. The thing is, China doesn't want you to know about this at all. The Chinese government constantly denies death bans and executions in general. But the crazy thing is that they want their citizens to know about the bans, and
China's court system is 99.6% of the people are guilty. Something like 1 in a couple thousand are found something other than guilty. So just keep that in mind too. I mean, you get railroaded over there really, really easy. Even for having a book that's not approved of, a medicine that's not approved of. It's some of the stuff. Drugs too, man. They will kill you for drugs over there.
They really, really want them to be scared. I'm not kidding. Not only does this death van pull up and take your life, it's being promoted, advertised, and explained on the Chinese internet. In fact, I just found a video that the Chinese government wants their own people to see so that they can be absolutely terrified of doing anything wrong. But you, as a person outside of China, are definitely not allowed to see this. So what did I do? Well, I translated it into English just to show you. This video is brought to you by Incogni. You know, there's some absolutely disgusting... Incogni. This video puts you in the perspective of somebody that's about to be executed via death van. Now, it's kind of framed in that way, I think, on purpose, because it's supposed to make you feel like you might be guilty of doing something. But here's the deal. They put these videos out there as sort of a spectacle of a public execution, and in fact, just back in 2001, they were still bringing people to stadiums to execute them in public, to make people feel like, wow, the government does stuff about criminals, and I better not be like that. It was almost like a way of crime prevention rather than a celebration, right? The thing is, I thought this kind of died down around 2001, but they still kept doing this. They do public sentencing rallies, and they've been doing it in 2004. They did 2007. I was finding stuff from the early 2012, 2013 time. They're still bringing people into the public sectors, public sphere, to show them off while they're executed. And again, this is not so much as a celebration as a deterrent for doing crime. Very Roman style. This is almost like being thrown in the Colosseum, basically. But today, we have the exact same thing. It's the internet, right? So the government will put these videos out so that people can be scared of doing crimes and also show off the prowess of how they get rid of criminals.
One thing I should mention, China's had a little bout of radical Muslim over there. Radical Islam. Terrorist activity, so to speak. And they just basically started locking up every Muslim. So they really can't and don't differentiate between the violent, non-violent, chill Muslims and radical Muslims. So they're just they go after all of them, and they're really rough on them in like a whole bunch of ways. It's very unfair. It's a trip.
Here's a CG representation of the death van. 上午10点，已被法警押进刑场。一辆死刑执行车，车上工作人员已经完成了各项执行准备。随着车门关闭，死刑正式开始。仅130秒后，你就被确认死亡。随着车门打开，你的尸体被抬出送往火化。That's actually true. You will be taken out to be cremated, but you'll just be put into another van. I kid you not, they have cremation vans. They really love this whole mobile death thing in China.
在这短短的几分钟时间里，执行车里究竟发生了什么？假如你是一个死刑犯，你会被怎样处理？
You see how this is framed? It's like, how would you be executed? This is going to happen to you. You're supposed to enter this as like a POV. This is from your perspective. How are you going to be taken out by the government?
今天，在不同的国家，想要合法的结束一个犯人的生命，有以下几种方式。根据我国现行的相关法律法规，死刑采用枪决或者注射等方法执行。相对于枪决来说，注射死刑更加文明和人道，能够减少死囚的痛苦。
Have you heard? Groundbreaking science has shown that the single most important thing to attract women is a man.
So it's actually interesting. There are two main ways of executing prisoners in China, and that is through lethal injection and it's also through shooting, right? The thing is, they're trying to justify this execution method because it's more humane, and this is something they try to do all the time. It's like, look how nice we are as a government. We execute our prisoners with the most humane methods. But the thing is, like, they haven't gotten rid of shooting people in a ditch. I mean, I'm not going to show this to you, but there's plenty of YouTube videos out there of the police that basically pull over on the side of the road, throw someone in a ditch, and shoot them. That's just how it is. Like, there's plenty of evidence out there for this still happening. So this is not some sort of, like, replacement for that. It's just simply how it works, especially in a lot of the rural areas.
执行注射执行，往往需要固定的床位、心率监测仪等一系列设备。在中级法院建一个这样的固定刑房，大约要200万元，而一辆执行车造价仅为70万元。
Do you see how this works, though? They're basically trying to justify having a mobile execution van by saying it's much cheaper, as opposed to a couple $100,000 to build this facility within a hospital. Hey, now we can actually just drive a van around and it only costs us about $90,000. So this is like a justification of the public about, yeah, this is really good. It's a cost-saving method when we need to go murder all those people. And by the way, it's interesting that they use another justification by saying, and not many people are executed every year. So by having a cheaper method of doing so, it's easier to sell to the public, right? It's easier to say, well, that's why you're seeing these death vans driving around. It's because it's cheaper and there's not that many executions. That's simply just not the case. In fact, China, even per capita, executes more people every year than every single country combined. And that's just the people that they count, right? If you look at this graph, every year China is executing thousands and thousands of people. And unfortunately, we don't even know the official statistic because China makes that classified information, whereas other countries will actually put it out there. Like, for example, Iran likes to brag about the fact that they kill about 500 people every year. That being said, it's way worse than this graph lets on. If you look at some estimates from human rights groups, it's estimated that people are getting murdered at a rate of about 8,000 people per year, and that was supposed to come down year on year. In fact, it's just not happening. If you compare that to the U.S., which also has the death penalty, in 2022, 18 death row inmates were executed. 18 versus 8,000, right? Makes you start to wonder what sort of crimes they're actually punishing here. And by the way, there's a major caveat here. You can have estimations of 8,000 people per year, but that's probably the people that are being counted by the fact that, hey, maybe they had some sort of public trial or some sort of public arrest. There are so many people in China that just completely get disappeared. If the government doesn't want you there, they literally just make you go away, right? You're not going to be counted even in this 8,000 figure.
执行车还可以异地调动使用，进一步节约执行成本。按来说，执行车是在中型客车底盘上改造而成，长度在7到8米，内部净高约为1.7米。以这份专利为例，分驾驶区、观察指挥区、执行区3个部分。驾驶舱与普通驾驶舱基本无异，但装备了多种精密的监控设备，可对几公里范围内的异常情况进行监控。执行区是行刑的地点，长度约为2米。整个区域没有苍蝇，这里不只有眼前的执行场。
I really hate how clinical this is. Like, this is put out in the beginning at least before it gets absolutely disgusting and dark. In the beginning at least, it's put out there almost like an educational video for people to understand about these death vans, and it's exactly what the scientists government doesn't want you to see, but it's exactly what they show their citizens. And in fact, you can confirm, with these patents and these documents, if you look at some of the real footage and the real pictures, it is in fact curtained off. So at least they give you that semblance of privacy as you are executed in the back of the van. It's really grim and also very dystopian. The fact that you have to, when you're strapped down and laying there, you're looking up at the Communist Party of China's insignia, and right above that is a security camera.
还有能监测受刑人心跳、呼吸等生命指标的医疗设备。当你被验明受刑人身份，法警就会用4条安全带将你入狱之后连接到经过手机和脑电设施。在预设离紧密封闭之后的观察区，执行官会将执行区的一切尽收眼，并通过电话、电脑、摄像头等方式向法警下达行刑命令。随后，有医疗资格的法警会将针头扎入你的颈管，针头的另一端连接着观察区的自动注射泵。注射剂并非一针必定，而是采用4针。会上的按键被启动后，4种不同的药液将以每分钟30毫升的速度4针半进行放大。第一针通常为生理特性，这是为了验证针头没有被堵塞。此时，你还保留着死前最后的清醒，过去的回忆开始攻击你。你想起家人的期盼，想起日子对他贡献的热情，想起犯罪时对他人生命的漠视。
See what this is? This is like trying to create psychological trauma for the viewer. It's like, first starts as an educational video about how this death van actually works, why it's justified, why it's convenient, why it's cost-saving. And then it goes into what is going on in your head as someone that's being executed in the back of this death van. That your memories will attack you. During this period of consciousness, when you get your first injection, you're still living. You're still thinking about your regrets and your family's expectations. This is supposed to get in your head to make you go, I better never do anything that will put me in this situation.
还有现在是放不下去的悔恨。
I think this is a really important point to highlight as well. During the first injection, you're going to feel the regret as you stood in front of the judge. What you have to understand is that China does not have a rule or law-based system. It is the complete supreme decision of the People's Court, which is run by the Communist Party of China, if someone is guilty or innocent. There is not a panel of jurors. There are not independent people that have opinions. You're a lawyer, if you have one, does not represent your innocence until proven guilty. If anything in China with a 99.9% conviction rate, you are guilty until you are proven guilty because you're almost never innocent. If you're caught by the government for doing something that they don't want you to do, and that can be anything really, then you are put on a faux trial in front of the People's Court, which is probably made of its mind. So this is a fallacy that you're going to feel this regret that you stood in front of the judge because of what you've done. You might not have done anything. I want to go over some of the crimes where you could get the death penalty in China for. It's a lot of stuff. I mean, you have normal stuff like arson and flooding and manslaughter and bombing and treason and separatism and all that kind of stuff, right? You also have like robbery. You also have things that have been completely fabricated or twisted or manipulated by the government to get you the death penalty. If somebody wants you gone, you can get the death penalty for really anything. For example, providing material support to the enemy, right? You could be tried for some of these treasonous crimes in China, and there have been some public cases fairly recently, around 2019 in fact, where they go after someone that was simply on the foreign internet, meaning that they used a VPN or whatever to hop over the Great Firewall of China. We're having dialogues with people in different countries. If they think you're a political dissident, you can be a treasonous traitor that they execute in the back of a van for. You see how slippery this is, and you can understand why there's so many people executed in China every year. If China was only executing people for these crimes, like murder or arson or something, you'd say, wow, China has a massively high crime rate. It's going to be like the highest crime rate in the world. And while China does have an unofficially high crime rate, I mean, ask me how I know. I lived there for 10 years. Really what's happening here is China's executing people that they don't like.
但随着第二针药物的注入，这些回忆逐渐离你远去，你开始感到麻木，并慢慢失去知觉。眼前的一切定格为一个光圈，起作用的是名为硫酸脱钠的巴比妥酸盐。 这是一种发作极快的麻醉药物，几秒钟内就会抵达大脑，由此你进入了死亡的第一个阶段，意识丧失。
Whatever you do, do it for less. At Harbor Freight.
I hate how this goes through these stages of death.
Crazy,
like some
so crazy.
Sort of
There's death
science
van.
book mixed with like
So crazy.
psychological trauma about how everything that you did was bad and wrong, and you feel all those regrets until you lose consciousness. And it's like it takes the spiritual element out of it. It takes all of the kind of the complicated process of someone going
don't know.
through the stages of death.
I was a little taken, I was a little blown away by that.
Almost biological video about how to justify
They
this horrible,
torture people every day in jail there. It's like normal.
第三种药物，金松木将注入静脉，
Oh, they're still talking
称
about it.
为抗呼秀，目的也不是致死，而是麻痹呼吸机。药物通过阻止呼吸机纤维的收缩，使人进入窒息状态。尽管你已无法感知到这些，但你的心脏还在做最后的挣扎，它加快跳动，拼命将血氧向大脑输送。
It's the way that they portray your organs struggling to the very last second. This is made to instill fear. This is not necessarily a educational piece anymore. They've already done the justification at the beginning of the video. This is grim. I mean, this is like watching you're supposed to be in this perspective of your body and your organs shutting down and working as hard as they can to stay alive, and it puts you in this perspective of how hard your body will try to fight to stay alive if something like this happened to you.
但当第四针药物氯化钾入入血液，大剂量的钾会使心肌的电传导发生紊乱，心脏被拉闸断电，骤然停止跳动，至此，人体自身的血氧供给手段将被全部中断，大脑迅速死亡，脑电图开始呈现一条直线，最后，法医在心跳停止、呼吸停止、双侧瞳孔散大固定3个条件同时具备的情况下，宣告了你的死亡。在这个你已经离开的世界里，法警会为你解除固定，执行好自动升级。
I can understand why so many people are coming here instead of hanging it out there in China.
从上车到
Yeah.
下车。
I had to do a video about it. I couldn't believe it. It's such a trip.
I don't know how to put this.
Stay out of trouble. Have a good one. Bye bye. Thanks for hanging out.